Hi folks. Well, I'm going to bring you up a little bit to what is going on. That's going to be a little bit updated about what's at the lab and what's happening and stuff like this. So we're going to be touching on that. But I'm also, been doing a lot of reading. I've been catching up on my email, like 360 some email I read in the last day or so, and we're getting email all the time. I probably roughly around about, since I started that, probably about 5,000 emails. So it just can tell you it could be time consuming. I have a lot of respect of people who are emailing me and asking me a logical question, and a lot of people, they just, thousands and thousands of people email me just to say thank you very much. I even couldn't believe how far it went to, I would say, around the world: Africa, Central America, Asia, Switzerland, England, Australia, New Zealand. I have email from around the world, literally. And what really blew me away is they're actually teaching the discovery into their school and college, to look at energy in a different way. And everybody, I read every single, I don't read every one and look at it, and none had any. We're talking about physicists and teacher and physics teacher and engineer, electronic engineer, electrical engineer teacher, and they all agree, all agree with me, the way we see our energy, and how it's manufactured and how it's produced and how it's distributed is a total ignorance. We don't know. No one knows. But everybody, when you turn the switch, they have light, but they don't know. It's just like, we don't need to know that. And it's too bad, because, we have put ourselves backward from when Tesla gave us, the energy to develop. And now we're going backward because the greed of keeping everything a secret, so no one can see how it's done, so they can charge us through the nose. And they have unlimited of price. And then they said, a lot of people say, well, that's what freedom is. You can charge anything you want. Yeah, you can charge, $1,000 for a pack of gum, right? But don't complain if there's a guy beside you selling the same pack of gum for 50 cents and making money. So how many pack of gum you're gonna sell? We don't really have an industry when it comes to energy. Is owned by one globalist group, and it's no competition. So they can put the price whatever they want on it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. Every time you open your phone bill, you've been ripped off, and you will see, what I'm doing is nothing more, nothing less than figure it out by myself, physically. A lot of people out there that are doing their research, and they talk to me about stuff, and I have some people calling me and emailing me and said, hey, the way they say about the power, it doesn't work that way. I've been working in the power for like 40 years. I've been installing power line and substation and station, and they said, it's not what you've been told. So, you can only ignore so many of those emails, and so many people talk, personally with, and tell me the same stories. So obviously it's a big, we call that fear of talking, because as most people who work for a power company have to sign disclosure, which is like, shut the fuck up, or or else. So a lot of people, they've been bullied up, to keep their eyes closed, do their job, pick up the paycheck, and go home and say, hi, honey, I'm home, right? Or vice versa. That's how it works in this world. But I have my eyes open, from all the email, and I thank you so much for everybody to email me and tell me how the working with what I show how things work, with physical object, mechanical object, not a piece of electronics, who tells you that's what you're seeing, but how do you know that? What do you mean I see that? How the hell do you know that? Why that instrument is saying that? So that was my big question. I don't trust nothing. And one thing you don't trust is equipment, especially made by man. And a perfectly good proof. Why in an airplane everything has to be double and quadruple duplicate in the plane? Gauge number 1 don't work. Gauge number 2 is there, and some they have 4 gauges, because instrument does always tell you the truth. Now they have instrument failure, and then they have instrument purposely designed to not to tell you the truth, and those are the one where I'm very going after. The one they fail to tell you the right reading, because they have a problem and how they was put together, or the compartment they use, it was not up to sniff, a quality enough to give you a proper reading. I'm talking about the one they spend hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to design to tell you a fake reading, because believe me, there's a lot of them, and everybody knows an oscilloscope, it's a Hollywood box. That's where Hollywood started, in an oscilloscope box. I don't really care about the oscilloscope anymore, because everything is a wave with an oscilloscope. The whole world is a wave with an oscilloscope. You only see it on one thing with an oscilloscope, is wave. The volume, the volt and stuff like this, but the wave. Everybody have to live on the wave. Well, I like the wave too. I go to the scene. I like listen to the wave, but after, few months and stuff like this, it's pretty annoying. So get off the wave and get back to Earth. So, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is energy, and the way Tesla find the energy. It was not in the wave, because he didn't want to have the wave. If you remember, he wanted to send you an energy through the air. We could be captured by sticking a rod in the ground and hooking up your system to it, and you have energy. But he didn't tell you he was going to manufacture, he was designing all the appliances or all the motor drive to anything to run on a higher frequency. But no, because they didn't want that, because people can just get power for nothing. So that was my daughter leaving. See ya. Bye. So this is what you really have to see, is the energy is not a wave. It's a resonance. And resonance doesn't have a wave. Resonance is what make everything move, what make everything grow, what make everything decay. It's resonance. It's no other thing. I know a lot of scientists, and I know some scientists, and they know it's something they cannot explain, but they don't agree. I don't agree with their explanation, because their explanation cannot explain my demonstration, and so therefore I call them on the bluff, right? It's very simple. In a field of science, they always talk about photon reaction going on around something, instead saying, hey, we have a large amount of resonance, in a fairly high volume, and I don't know, we should check that out, where it's coming from. Now they put that, an unexplainable photon reaction. What a photon, like they explain, goes through object, have no mass. Well, would that would be resonance? Resonance have no mass. Resonance have no physical bodies. It goes through anything. It goes through Resonance goes through mountain, goes through anything. I mean, what do you think you hear when you're sitting on the top of the ground and suddenly your feet are shaking and the whole world is shaking, right? Well, everybody said, oh, there's a sound wave coming up on the ground. There's a big wave coming out of the ground. But what the hell started that fucking wave? That's what I'm asking. Never mind the wave. The wave is after someone pulled the trigger, right? It's the effect it happened down the shooting range. I want to know what make that hammer click, okay? Who's pulling the trigger and how it's pulled the trigger? And, you know, the only thing I can come up, because, I mean, I can make wave all the time. You know, it's very simple. Right? Making wave. Making wave. Making wave again. See, it's simple making wave. But between this and the wave coming out of that piece of iron, something happened. And what it is? What is the trigger for that piece of metal to create a wave? A sound. Well, the wave's a sound wave because we can hear it, right? This is a hard piece of steel. This is a hard piece of steel. When the two clash together, we have one being, right? It's compression and the resonance I'm creating inside that steel. And then there's a whole whack of shit happen inside that. The molecule of that steel start to vibrate it. And soon they vibrate it, they create a wave at the surface of this metal. And that's why you can hear the goddamn thing. Nothing too complicated, right? I don't have to go into space and to Mars and to figure out, like, let's find out why when we tap a piece of steel a sound come up. Why when I tap a piece of wood a sound come up, right? Why? How can I figure how the wave is created? Same thing with the guitar. The string, when you're picking the string, well, it's a tension string. It creates a wave. But the sound is not from the string of the guitar. It's the beginning of the sound. Now that sound, that chord create a wave, but at the same time, as she's snapping back and forth, she create a resonance which follow the guitar string, get into the wood, to the structure of the guitar. The wood is very important. The material the guitar is built will tell you how far the wave will travel after you leave the guitar. Because good quality guitar, you can hear them for a mile when it's very quiet. A shitty quality guitar, you can sit on it and you can't hear it. Because it don't create, it have no resonance because the material have too soft, it doesn't have the resonance. You need a nice hard wood and put properly to have the resonance of the box of a guitar. Same thing with a violin. You know, you got $50 violin and you have $5 million violin. Big difference is on how loud and how strong the sound is and how clean the sound is. So now we know what resonance is. Now how you manipulate that? Well, we can manipulate it just like Tesla did. Let's work with resonance instead of looking for working with wave, you know. I mean, like, you know, everything's a wave. Stop. Let's work with resonance. For example, resonance can be compressed into a density. That's what you get your potential. Because if I compress this whole room here of resonance into a tiny little space, I will have compression into this tiny little space because I collapse all the space into a tiny little one. So in the center of that space, it will be a tremendous amount of pressure waiting to be released. So it's just like a balloon, right? And if you put a whole bunch of energy to it, you pump it out with air, right? You tighten it up, and then you're waiting with a needle to release that energy, right? And soon you touch it, it's going to go pop, right? So the energy expand again. So I mean, like, that's exactly how resonance works. Now, how you compress resonance and be able to make that to a workable energy? Well, Tesla did it again. He was capable of manipulate magnets and iron and copper to be able to do that. But a magnet doesn't work the way people think it does. You know, a magnet doesn't have a life feel around. I don't care I can tell you the truth, I don't care what people say. You're going to have to come up here and prove to me that it's got a workable field or a moving field around a magnet. It doesn't exist, right? But the magnet it have a two pole, meaning pole. The meaning the word reflect. The pole, the word pole reflect attraction. That's what pole mean. When you're poling something, you're attracted toward you, right? It's like the, you know, Star Trek, when they put their tractor beam against another ship, you know, and they bring it, you know, they're poling it back home, and that's mean the poling. So if it was a field, then why are we calling it a pole in the first place? Because it was found a long time ago, then Tesla find it was no field. Now, a field means motion. When there's no motion, there's no field. But you still have attraction. Pole can be there without moving. You know, I could be a spectator and I will keep my mouth shut and I will be only a spectator. The other guy is a spectator, but instead of listening, he's screaming. So he participate on this event. I'm just sitting there listening, right? So that's why, you know, pole can exist without a field. You know, so he figured out, he started with magnet. In those days was, you know, 19, probably he was been playing with magnet since he was born, you know, and then he started playing with more electricity stuff and whatever. He was very intrigued about that, but he never mentioned of a field. All the stuff is been wrote there. Someone wrote that up, not him. But he was talking about more as a separation. The world was, the atmosphere was separating by layers. Hey, that makes sense, because he knew gas was separating from gravities. So since we're living in a world of gas, that would make sense. We have bubbles on the top of bubble with layers in between and a different, you know, different type of gas. So that would make sense, because this is logical. We're living in a world of gas. So I mean, like, you know, but you know, suddenly we have this field going from the North Pole to the South Pole and moving around like this. I don't see anything moving. So I mean, if the magnet don't move, I don't think the Earth field is moving. I think our field, our position is totally different, and I'm not too sure how it's done. But you know, at least I say I'm not too sure how it's done. I have an opinion, but at that point in time, I'm not even go there, because there's too many people who know how the Earth, where and how the Earth is, and how the rest of the planets are, and how the universe works and all that. Because and I don't want to jump in this and this cuckamaku wagon there with everybody know how the universe works, but they can't, you know, they can't flush their own toilet when it's plugged. So so at that point in time, I'm not going to go there. But I can tell you what Tesla find about resonance. He can manipulate resonance, and he was able to compress it. That means he was able to create a massive amount of resonance. And a massive amount of resonance, he was using copper wire and iron and magnetism, or pre-induced magnets, which, you know, is different than a regular magnet. Now, this magnet here, right? One side is north, one side is south. But even at thickness of that magnet, the field don't touch each other, unless you're giving a material to build the field from underneath to there. But right now, there's no field there. The string going like this and the string going like this, but they're not capable of bending, but they're just like straight here. And that's why this, when it goes across a spool of wire, like this, right? If it goes across back and forth, it carry voltage. Oh, hang on. I'm doing voltage, but I'm only using one side of the magnet. That's correct. Because I test my generator, my high-speed generator, with all the magnet facing north. All the magnet was facing the same direction. And it made no difference on the volume of volt I was making and what type of volt I'm making. So for the people, you need a north and south, north and south, north and south. It's all things from the past. We can do it without it. But it doesn't matter to me, so I make people happy. I put a northern star, but it makes no goddamn difference. So the way to do it is, you know, you have to flash a magnet or something with a it's just like a guitar pick going across the wire like this, and makes the wire resonate. Since copper is a crystal, and so is all materials, all crystal when you really look at it, different shape, but that's still a crystal, it makes sense now. So he was capable of making volt. Well, volt, for each volt, it's got a certain volume of resonance you're creating. And Tesla was capable of compressing the volt, making a very high volume of volt, and compress it. Just like a balloon when you blow into it. Compress it nice and tight, and then release it in one direction. One direction, release it. Now, pay attention to what I'm saying. One direction, not two direction or multiple direct. One direction only. So at that point, he was able to control, and he was able to compress. Now, how far can I compress it? Hey, you can compress it quite a bit, because we create a lot of potential. Before, in the beginning, he was making only 16,000 volt 500, and I just found that out a day ago, yesterday. I've been, doing some research on the internet, and I finally find an old video in the mid-60s about how power is distributed in the old turbine and all that stuff, right? And how it works, and it goes from 16,500 from the generator at the turbine, and it goes into a, guess what, multiplier, because what comes up is got a wave into it, because it's going through a generator, but the waves get removed, right? Because it's very high frequency. Actually, it's not a wave; it's a very, very fast frequency, but it's a wave, and that wave gets removed by going through a spark gap. Then after that, since the wave is removed, now we have pure resonance. We took the wave away, so we clean up the wave right out of it, and all we got left is pure resonance and voltage. And then we keep on pushing this generators keep on pushing the pressure, and then we're putting into the slasher, which is an electrical valve. It turns on and off, on and off. When it's off, it's nothing. The pressure is stopped right there, and the generator is building up the pressure, and then suddenly that gate opens up and shoot out, and then close again, and then shoot out. Now you have a time zone between open and close. And that's exactly why we have to do is compress this energy and then decompress it back to a usable low voltage 60 cycle if you want. If you like to work with a 60 cycle, you can go ahead and do it. And the way to decompress it, well, you remember I told you how you can make resonance dance by filling a tiny little box full of BBs. And how you decompress is to turn the box upside down and dump it into a big empty floor. And you have the same volume of resonance, but it's a decompressed resonance, and it's all over the place, but you have lots of space between all the BBs on the floor, right? That's what your pole transformer does. He decompresses the resonance, and by decompressing it, the voltage drop, but the potential turn itself and modify itself into a watts. And then from that, calculation of so many watt will give you an amp. So that's how it's all manufactured. Now the way they send the power is not AC. AC is producing in your transformer. End of story, right? AC is producing in your transformer. Your low voltage 60 hertz with a beautiful signal like this, what we call AC wave, is all produced through the transformer. The transformer does that for you. He brings that, and to me, and that's what is called electricity. The way we learn, what electricity is. But what has come up of the power line to get to your transformer That's not electricity. This is high voltage at high frequency and RF, because remember, they removed the wave out of it, so it's no longer a wave sign, right? It's an on-off now. Plus it went through a spark gap and it broke all that stuff up, right? And it just removed everything beside resonance, crackling with volts. And that's what's coming into your line. When we have transmission line, the line I got here is 14,400 volts, and the transformer brings it down to X1 and X2 at 120 volt each, and X3 as U neutral. Now, the power they send have to go back. I have no choice, right? Before they were dumping on the ground, but said they're losing too much, so they sucked it back. And that's why your transformer, when nothing's happening, if I disconnect the house of a transformer right off, there's nothing going to be connected to open a gate of that transformer to make that X1, X2 energized, because the power is just going through right now, nothing's coming up. The power goes through that transformer, it doesn't stop because the top line is under pressure. But the bottom line, you know, your ground line or your neutral line is under vacuum. And everybody says, how can you put a vacuum into a wire, right? How can you put pressure into a wire? Well, those people, they have the brain the size about this big, and I'm very generous, right? Very, very generous. That little size, that's the size of their brain, okay? Because you can create compression and you can create vacuum into electrical. All you got to do is take a piece of wire and wrap it around a pencil, a copper wire, and hook up a motor, you know, and then you will see when the motor load, you know, if it is on the right wire, the spring will collapse. If you put it at the other spring, when you load, it expands. So one push, pull, it all react that way. So I mean, that's called pressure. When you're making a piece of wire moving back and forth because it's wind up, it's like a corkscrew, it's because it's pressure. You do that, and the same thing in a hose with pressure, water in the hose. If it's curly up, when you put the pressure on it, it goes like this. You remove the pressure, you collapse it, it goes like this. It collapses on its own. So now we know how pressure works. Now we just have to manufacture, and that's why tomorrow is Friday, and I'm going to be pulling the plug. I didn't hear anybody what wire we need for my generator, my prototype generator build. So we're going to build another prototype, a bigger one. Won't be very big, much bigger, probably double the size. And then, but I will be able to produce my 16,500 volts, no problem at high frequency. We're going to be moving from probably a 4-coil because I need higher frequency, and I want to spin the generator lower. I'm going to try to maintain a 5,000 to 6,000 RPM on the generator, because you have to have it takes so much, it gives you so much more to play with, and to put out 16,000 volt, 16,500 volt, and then is going to go through a large set of spark gap, maybe 2, and then through the slasher. My slasher is the one who's going to turn on and off on the same time the spark gap. The spark gap is going to have to build before they start jumping, before they go back into my slasher. So there's going to be a whole whack of time zone and compression there. And then we're going to release that into the transformer, and at that point in time the transformer will be grounded to the ground for safety, and we'll be able to connect some large equipment on it, and we'll be able to see the draw, how much it takes to run my generator, and what I'm making out of there, which I know for a fact is hundreds of times. So on voltage, on the red volt, and I'm talking about the amount of amperage. So it will be hundreds times over. So I mean, when we get that, we will be able to build, you know, a handful of it and test it. When we have that built and tested, then we're going to move to start manufacturing the products we will carry for the car, for the house. Sorry, for the house. So we're going to be doing that, and we're also going to be releasing how it's done. And if anybody wants to jump in the bandwagon, we'll be able, Earth Energy will be able to give you a license, which one we're not going to charge you a penny for the license. We just want a very small percent of what you're going to be able to supply to people, and we have the right of the qualities. That's one thing about it. It's qualities we have to do, because those things have to run for a long time. We don't want people to fix those things every 6 months. So, and I'm going to keep the price down also, so it's affordable. So we're not going to make, like most people, 3,000–4,000% profit, like most people does. I mean, like, you know, we're going to make a profit just enough so we can keep building those things and supplying people and make enough money to pay all the nuts and bolts and give the company, you know, a little buffer so they can survive and keep on running for something. They have money to survive. But beside that, that's it. It ain't going to be like, you know, for the machine, the machine costs $1,000 to manufacture, you ain't going to see in the market for $20,000. And when I see that on the market for $20,000, when it costs $1,000 to manufacture, I will personally go and burn the building down. And that's a promise, not a threat. So I like, you know, and then we have, after that one is done, then I'm going to release that for the whole world to see at the same time, and then I'll be traveling and explaining literally how it works. But it's very simple. Everybody's making it too complicated, because that's all we are, too complicated, right? So I call it the way it is. I mean, like, you know, if I see a chicken going around, running across the road, why should I say, do you see that pig running across the road? Because that's exactly what science does to you, right? You see something, they call it something else. So they can maintain their status quo, you know, as scientists. So I'm not making friends in the world of science, but I don't really care, because they were not my friend from the beginning. So no party loss here, no hard feeling of losing, you know, a close friend. So and then we're going to have the unit for the automobiles. Any combustion engine, diesel, gas, turbine, jet engine, you name it. It will be. It's no moving parts. It will be a solid state. It doesn't use water, but you can take water in your car, because yeah, you're not going to stop to refuel. So you're probably going to get thirsty, you know, down the road. So bring yourself some water when you have that unit is, because it doesn't run on water, it doesn't run on fuel, it doesn't run. You know, all I'm doing is I'm priming the nitrogen in the air, because the motor is a vacuum. It sucks the air, and 80% of what it sucks is nitrogen. And it can be primed in many ways, because nitrogen, the last time we checked, is an explosive. And we've been using it all along. So like our motor, we say, you know, gas motor, diesel motor. No, it's an air motor, because the largest volume is air, which is 80% nitrogen. And then you're putting a tiny little drop of fuel who get, you know, it get compressed and sprayed in a very small size molecule, so it primes literally the nitrogen and the air, and that is your biggest fuel, because it's your largest amount, and that's why you have your motor running on a 1 drop per 4 cycle, 1 drop of gas per 4 cycle. It will keep an engine. It's not the gas, believe me. That drop only it does is a primer. So I mean, we have that, and that will be coming up pretty soon. Soon we finish doing the we're working on a controller for the motor, the drum motor, to spin the generator, and I believe in the plot, I would say a month from now, we should have a bench test, bench built unit controller, so we can start playing with the motor and tune the motor up so we can use. I don't want a noisy thing. I don't want to hear a motor whining, because those motor, when their frequency is perfect on those motor, they're totally silent. If the bearing is not noisy, totally silent. When we achieve that, to have everything running, tuning again, then I will go with my design of magnetic bearings, which is a 2-piece bearings. It will look just like a bearing, a normal bearing, but there's no balls in it. So I can't call it a ball bearing anymore. It's just a bearing, or a floating sleeve, and you can put weight on it and it won't move. You know, it won't distort. I mean, no more than a normal ball bearing. When you drop something or you're driving over a very hard pothole, you should take a good look how your bearing goes under a microscope. They flatten up. Yeah, they move, man. You have movement in the bearings, and people don't know about that. But it's very limited, and I can compress with the quality of magnet now we can make. I can compress the magnet and create a bearing with it and compress it back together, and soon they're put together, they will never separate again. The center will not pull out of the outside. It will be held by the attraction, sorry, not the attraction, but the repulsion of each other. Now that sounds kind of weird because, like, you know, how can they go together when they're working on repulsion? It's because the repulsion is lined up. It's got a line, a neutral line, which is going to be inside this cage, this rail, and it's just like they're pushing, I guess, so hard they literally wedge themselves into this gutter, and it cannot move like this, you know, and it cannot go up and down because the pressure is too much. You have to realize you can go when you want to collapse a bearing, nice, like a magnet together, nice and tight. And if you use a press with a gauge, pressure gauge on it, sorry, I have to spit that one out, you will see how much a resistance of a magnet, of a strong magnet, can do. I mean, it's tremendous amount of pressure. We're talking about thousands of pounds before you can literally touch the magnet together. So I mean, like, you know, to me, thousands of pounds, it's good enough for me. I'll roll for that. You know, since we're using all the cheap Chinese bearing we have today, and I know 6 out of 10 are not good. You have to go in the garbage. They're brand new, right out the box, because they make noise. So I mean, like, you know, hey, I'll build bearings. I'll build bearings without balls. How's that? And so that's another thing we're going to be doing. And also, of course, I mean, they're working on a couple of small devices for helping people. The voodoo machine we have here, right, will be different. It will be into this. We'll be moving into this one here, right, to a box. So it will be neater, quieter, and all that, so people can do experiment with it without waking the neighbor and stuff like this. I didn't mind the noise because it tells people I'm doing stuff, right? So and I do that all the time. So we're going to be having quite a bit coming out here, I would say, in the next 2 to 3 months. Doesn't matter as we go, as we have a failure and stuff like this, I'll tell you, because I had lots of failure and lots of good stuff and lots of stuff I didn't understand from the beginning, but now everything it's crystal clear. I mean, like, you know, it's not complicated, literally, when you find out about it. And this information should be available to anybody, but since now we stuck with a plague, right? I mean, to me, the plague we have today is worse than drugs. It's worse than alcohol. It's worse than anything, right? And you know, to me, the biggest plague is people totally lost the understanding of logic. You know, and this the plague. We have a brain disease right now. We refuse logic, but accept bullshit for fact. You know, I mean, pure example. I mean, if people are not, their brain are not diseased. Look what's going on in the States. You know, I mean, you know, Trump, you know, is probably, you know, I'm a pretty big asshole, but this guy is probably bigger than me. He's got more money. I'm actually, like, he's got all the money. I don't have any. So, but I mean, like, you know, he's looking at the whole thing to do with the economy and protecting his own country first. And the other half is looking at say, no, we want no gate, we want no door, no house, we want, I mean, but everybody, hey, did I hear Obama is building a wall around his fucking house they moved into? Right? For a guy who doesn't want a wall, what the fuck are you building a wall around your fucking house? But, you know, that could be a lie from YouTube also. You know, since YouTube, I guess you guys could probably notice that, but I'm losing most of my hit, which I don't really care because I don't make money with hit. I never want. I've been. Everybody keeps saying put some stuff on your video. You get enough hit, you can make some money, you can pay some bill. You know what? That's the first thing I can't stand. I go and watch a video, and the first thing comes out is a fucking commercial. Even if the video is interesting, I don't watch it just for that fucking reason. I stand like. I gave up my Shaw box. It was costing me $110, $120 a month because 75% of the time you're watching TV, you're watching fucking commercial. And I'm paying for it to watch fucking commercial. I know what the drugstore is. I know what the grocery store is. I know what the dealer is. I know what the hardware store is. I know where I'm going somewhere. I know exactly what I need. I don't need a fucking person on my TV to tell me what the fuck I want to use. Right? So anyway. Kind of get me pissed off on that one. So, but yeah, back into what we're showing. I'm gonna be playing. It's probably about a 5-minute video, and I'll put it, and I'll put the address of the video, what you have to do on YouTube to watch this whole video, and then explain to you how power is made from the and it's not exactly. You know, but they didn't put so much lie in the 60s, and then they do it today, right? Today it's just like, well, it's AC current, end of story, right? So I mean, like, you know, so you will be able to find out by yourself how different the story is from what you hear and what I'm telling you, and you will see the resemblance of what I'm telling you resemble this video. So I mean, like, you know, it's like I say, you know, I walked the stream all the way up to the powerhouse. And I know now what is going on and where the potential come from and how to make it and how to manipulate it. So that's what we're going to do. And again, I like to thank everybody who emailed me. You know, it's always a pleasure to read the email and to see how much difference I made. You know, I have people all over the world just either scratching their head or putting something together and testing it and said, holy mackerel, I didn't know this thing could do that. I mean, like, you know, again, you know, just to show you how people cannot, you know, look at the size of that. Right? I'm going to get nice and close. This is my finger. Right? My finger look good. It's right, it's touching the end there. Right? I can run 5 amp at 24 volt. 24/7 at the tiny little thing up. That's means 5 amp of load on that. And it will run as long as the bearing run. And you're telling me we need something that's going to cost $250,000 to power up a house. It's fucking ridiculous. You know? It makes no sense. All I did is I'm taking a big power plant and I look what the power plant can I mean, like, you have to be, when you talk to those people, you have to be open mind, right? When you say this generator produces enough power to supply 100,000 customers, out of those 100,000 customers, I would say 60% of those customers are large industry. So it's not really a fair thing to say, right? Because a house runs on 60 to 100 amp, 150 amp, and an industry runs on 2 to 3 megawatt, right? So, I mean, like, you know, it's not exactly, you know, comparable, but that's how the illusions start, right? The illusions start, you know, by fudging the truth, right? So, I mean, like, let's bring everybody together in a big basket and we'll call them, you know, one customer, right? But that's okay. I did that. Still, you can power up your house if you do it properly, the way it's done, you know, with less than a horsepower. You know, you can achieve that with less than a horsepower. So, I mean, so which is the big deal there? If we can power our house with the primary mover less than a horsepower, then we can do it. We can do it no problem. You know, because 1 horsepower should be producing 500 amp at 240 on constant load. So, okay, I'm there, like, you know, got it. The light pops out. Yep, okay, let's build it. And when I did the first test with my high frequency generator, I was seeing, and it was not that high a voltage, 3200 volts at 20,000 RPM. And the tiny little wire we were using, the 20, I think we were using 26 or 26 and a half gauge wire, I could produce over 100 amp of draw out of that thing, and then back it up to 40 to 45 amp constant, and those tiny little wire, single wire, were not even getting hot. And that's what, it really get things going in my head. So now I said, okay, screw all that, let's go to the 16,500 volt, and then we'll go there. And it was so funny because I just said, no, I'm not going to make 14,004. I want a little bit of buffer, a couple of thousand volt of buffer above what above what I want to use. I want to dump in a transformer. And then I watched a video yesterday, and the goddamn generator in the 60s, they were making 16,500 volts. My jaw dropped. Huh? I didn't see that coming at all. So I'm just going to keep on going with what I'm thinking, what have to be done, and do the tests, and we're going to be able to put that there for all the people to literally enjoy and get off the grid for a change. And the car, same thing. You'll be able to drive your car. It will run on airs. It will have probably about 30 to 40% more power because we can tune it in to the car run perfectly smooth. And any type of car, carburetor car, fuel injection car, it doesn't matter, diesel, non-diesel, alcohol car, anything. As long as it sucks air, we'll make it run. So that's going to be great. And those box people will be able to put themselves a box like this together, or purchase it and kits, and test it and find the same thing I found, and how things go on. So, and also what that box can do with water, drink, food, whatever, plants. Everybody say, oh, radiation, right? I use insects. Insects is very sensitive to radiation, because guess what? T10, your pesticide you've been using in the States, have uranium in it, or decay nuclear rods. They run it down because insects, when you spray, you get particle of radiation, a radiated particle on the plant, and the insect don't like that, so they stay away from the plant. So, but you sucker eat that plant, and then you get problems, right? So insects have no problem with everything I made here. I mean, I saw bees, bugs walking over a pad. I'm running the machine, for God's sakes, And I know the field, not the field, but the pressure expands so much, it goes out of my wall and into the neighbor, right? So that's how you can pick up that expansion of energy. And it's not a field, it's an expansion of energy. It doesn't spin, it's an expansion. You can only create a vortex when you put the coil, the pancake coil. If you put it flat, you will have a vortex, and the vortex will grow with the expansion of that energy. And then the vortex turn, because you can see it turn it. You can literally will figure out to see how it turn, and it always turn counterclockwise. But it will expand. The field get bigger and bigger. So this vortex. That's the only time I saw something moving. And if you want to so-called a magnetic field, which I don't think it is, right? I think it's just an excitement of the resonance, which creating this phenomena of spinning always backwards. So I'm still testing and that kind of stuff, but the rest of the stuff is pretty much figured out. We just have to put it together and get the control built, so we can turn our motor, our drum motor for run about 8,000 RPM, so we have a bit of leeway, and then we can drop it down to the level RPM we need. But yeah, it's all there. It's just a question of controller to run the motor, proper controller to run the motor. The motor is already there. The motor is plenty powerful. Those drum motor from the washing machine have plenty power to turn those generator and some. And from there, when we get that done, then I will be redesigning, which I already did, a different type motor, still a drum motor, but it will be way more efficient than the one we had today. So I mean, it will run on a higher frequency. It will run it as an impulse motor, not a flow of current as we are, or an impulse of current. is going to be totally, it will be a motor that runs on compression, literally. And I'm trying to remove the magnet. I don't think I need the magnet, because there's one thing that's very interesting about resonance is if you have a level of very high volume of resonance, I mean high volts, you have it expel the resistance around you. It change the mechanism who create gravities. It change everything. Matter of fact, if you have enough resonance, it brings to levitation, to loss of gravities. Loss of gravity is not propulsion. If you want to levitate, that means you need propulsion. You can be totally weightless, but if you have no propulsion, you ain't going to levitate, right? So I mean, it's it's a lot of things you got to think about and stuff like this. But I'm 100% confident at that point in time, how far we are. It won't be too long till we can put something for people to just finally relieve the pressure and turbo country and all that stuff. That's why I'm very heavy on making motors for the turbo country. We'll actually run on our own. You literally doesn't need a batteries. You just have to kickstart the damn thing, just like a pull start for a snowmobile. So you can pull start it, and as soon as you start turning, it will start turning, and then you engage what the work it's got to do, and it will run by itself. You don't have to feed it with nothing, with no batteries and and stuff like this. So with the impulse motor will make it even easier to do that, because an impulse is just like a massive amount of pressure coming out of a coil. So it's compression literally we're working with. So we already got a good design on it. So we will see when we got a controller and stuff like this, and then we can go work to this, because it will be a different controller for impulse. It will be an impulse controller. Then when I got that, that's going to be something I'll be very proud to see. It's an impulse motor, rotation impulse motor, tremendous amount of power. It's like driving with a 36 cylinder in your vehicle, compared to an 8. So beside that, I know everything is seemed to going, and for me it's kind of slow for me, but as long as something is going forward, then that's going forward, right? So and then again, I like to thank everybody who would send me email, and I take time, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, to read the email. And like the other day, I had a whole whack, so I had to really sit down and read through all that and understand what the people's pains are and stuff like this, and suffering around the world, because they just want lights or something to run a fridge or something to pump water. They don't want everything. They want a simple necessity. Maybe they don't have to go fetch the water. Maybe they can pump the water out to the place instead of walking 2 miles. Maybe they don't have to go to the river. Maybe they can dig a hole in the ground and find water, which is fairly easy around this planet. All you got to do is look at it, and look at the sign for water. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's getting there. So, but you guys think about the brain disease or the mental disease we have in this world, and I'm not joking. I mean, going back to the States and to Canada and to all the rest of the world, what's going on right now and stuff like that is just crazy. I mean, I don't think Trump is that bad of a guy. Everybody's got their good and bad, for all the people. I just don't want anything to, if I ever cross a guy, I will shake his hand. I will say, hey, a hell of a job you tried to do there, because you tried to clean house. And this house had to be cleaned a long time. It was just like a chicken coop. You don't remove the manure for 30, 40 years. Well, when you open the door, you have to crawl on it, because the shit is past the waist, right? Well, that's what he got. He went up and he jumped into this chicken coop there with his 3/4 of the height of the ceiling. It's full of shit. So you got to clean that to see what color floor you got on it. If the floor is still solid, or you have to put a new floor on it. So he's got a lot of work, and I don't like to be in his shoes, because he's got so many people with that mental disease out there, which is a fact. And we should not be stopping the wheels, but more likely keep the wheels turning. hopefully at my time in my life I will meet him and shake his hand, because at least he's got balls. That's one thing I have to tell you. So beside that, that's about it for me, and we'll be able to get in touch probably in the next. I'm gonna probably the next couple of weeks or so. I'm not gonna put another video going because we need to do the work. We need the time to do the works and stuff like this, and waiting for a few pieces here and there. And but I would say every 2 to 3 weeks I will try to put a video, unless something comes up, and I will make a short little video, and so you guys all know what is going on. But if people email me and I don't answer, is like I say, I must have received I think the last count we had, and over 5,000 to 6,000 emails since I started. So I mean, like, it's, some people give you 3-4 lines email, like, make it quickly, but some people write books, right? Well, you don't know about the books till you really go through and read it, right? So and everybody, they're just happy to say something and say thank you, for opening their eyes and see things differently, and that's good enough for me. I mean, like, I don't need any more than that. I mean, how many times a person have the chance to literally change, the world's way of thinking, like that's like a brush fire, and every day wind is picking up and getting stronger and stronger. And I was not expecting that. I was expecting, when I started this whole thing, to die in a couple of months, but it just took a life of its own, and I can't stop it. So I mean, like, when you wake up a human's mind, it's hard to put to sleep again, because he's already been there. You already know how he got put to sleep. When he's awake, it's the most dangerous weapon in the world for all the people who try to put everybody to sleep. I have one thing for you. Run for your hole you dig in the ground for the 50 years of digging and building stuff on the ground. Run and hide there, right? Because we have no use for you on the surface of this planet. It will be a day when those people will be humped like mad dog. They will be put down just like mad dog. There will be money to make by chasing those people down, and get rid of them and bring either their head or their ear, so you can collect your money. So I mean, like, it's a bounty. It's going to be, you will see how far society is going to go. I might not be able to see all that. I'm 60 years old, but I'm telling you, it's going to be nasty for the next 25 years old. In the next 25 years, it will be nastier than nasty. It will be a lot of bloodshed. It will be a lot of cleansing. It have to be done. It's not something you can escape. So everybody says, oh, well, we can fix it. No, you can't. The only way you can fix is going through the motion. You can't fix something because it's being tried. And of course, how can you fix someone who is totally diseased in the brain? How will you fix that? This is a disease. It's have no taste, no physical. It's just there in their brain. There's no cure for that. And if there's no cure for that, so what you do? What you do with all those people? I mean, Willow King. I mean, everybody is listening to my YouTube channel. They know what I'm talking about. So that's about it. So folks, don't worry too much about the YouTube also. And the YouTube is like, is owned by the Bush and the Clinton and the Obama regime, right? And so they fucking up. If you look at the website of the Clinton and Obama, they never lose any numbers and any comment. And the only comment they're going to remove from their site is the one people telling their point of view, that they remove that. Mine, I don't remove nothing. I take all the good and the bad. And I mean, the numbers stop. Nothing goes on. Nobody put another comment, even to tell me to fuck off. Right? I don't even get those ones. So I'm telling you, there's someone with the finger on the keyboard doing that, because the system, the computer, the way a system work, the software work, it doesn't pick just one side of the fence. It picks everybody. You know, if there's a problem in the system, everybody was going to have the same problem. Not just a certain group of people compared to this group of people on the same channel, right? This is like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that. We probably lost about, I would say, easily, I'm over 3 million, and I probably lost, they probably stole about another 3 to 4 million views, because the email I'm getting is like all over the world, and everybody's saying, we're sending that to all our people that are watching you and stuff like this. We're not getting that. So obviously YouTube like to play those little games. So, but hey, I don't really care. I'm not making money on it, so I don't care, right? So who cares? I just like to not use my response so I can read the response and see how, why, and where people's minds are. A lot of people, they're, you know, they're somewhere up their ass, but hey, that's their own predicament, right? So I'm just going to cut it short now because I've been blabbering for a while, but I think the next video will have some pretty decent update with the controller and the drum motor, and I probably might have a picture of the new generator, which is won't be much different. If you look at my picture, the picture of my first generator I built at the height, it will be probably about 4 to 5 inches higher and probably about 10 inches across. Not too bad for a house, isn't it? Something you still pick up on your arm and walk away with it, right? So it won't be no big giant things. The only thing is going to weigh a lot of weight here is your transformer. I'm not building transformers, so that's pole transformer. Anybody want to build a light transformer or something like this, knock yourself up. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just using the wheel. I'm just making it smaller so I can use it for my own personal use. So, but yeah, folks, I mean, like, you know, that's all I got today, and hopefully it will be enough. And then please watch this video I'm going to put on YouTube. You got to watch that, and then you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And it was just a fluke yesterday I ran into that video, believe me. So you have a nice day, and we'll talk to you again. So you have a good evening.